Hey guys, welcome back to Chris and Retro. Tonight's video is going to be a continuation of other discussions I've had on this subject, but I think that the current times is really important for us to revisit it. I'm going to talk about choices and high risk living, and we bring that subject all the time. I mean, it's in the tagline, closer than it appears. On our high risk living, that total collapse is closer than it appears. And a while ago, I'd done a video on Conor McGregor and got quite a bit of, for me, a lot of views on the and a lot of commentary. Of pretty rigorous in terms of opinions either way relative to his substance use and observations I had about where I felt his life could go if he didn't find a way to get hope and help. And we're going to revisit some of the subject matter tonight as I go through this video. Before we get started, then I just want to do real quick a plug. This is new to the show. I've shared this a few times. Check out reaperapparelco.com. Ambassador EA or AMBASS 20. If you put that code in when you order, you can some of the proceeds will come over to the show and help out with what we're trying to accomplish here. Here's one of their hats, pretty slick. I actually like their clothing. Their shirts are, I'm not one that like those stiff, thick t-shirts. Their t-shirts are awesome. And the thing is, their mission is actually align with mental health and better living relative to how they look at journaling and how you start your day and more of a prescriptive plan. And they have a program that they do that's a kind of a movement that they're working on right now. So please check out reaperapparelco.com. I would appreciate that, and it would help support the show in some respects. So anyway, back to the subject matter at hand. So I believe that we look at the rich and power, and I think that as the last 10 years or so have gone, or 5 years have gone by, probably, I'd say 10 years. In the last 8 to 10 years, we have become more aware of the underbelly of the higher end of our society, for lack of better words. Now, it's not to say that if you have accomplished a lot in your life and that you have a nice home and you have plenty of wealth, that necessarily makes you a bad person. But we have had plenty of experiences that show that in the absence of having anything more that you could possibly strive for, you still are striving as a human being. And a lot of times it's given over to lust. And that can be lust of any number of things. But when you get to a point where you've bought everything you could possibly buy, then what? Life can get a little bit weird, I would think. I wouldn't complain if I was making more money than I am now. I don't think any of us would. But I also think that we are becoming more and more aware of the upper echelon of society has some darker sides to it that are really troubling. Now, I think up till now, they've been able to get away with these types of things forever. And we always just said, okay, well, they've got money and they got politicians and lawyers and everything else, and they'll be insulated from it. And people like me and you, we screw up and we kind of get caught. I mean, I'm probably the worst criminal on the whole planet. It seems like I always got caught. And my record seems to show for that. So we look at them as a different class of society based on their inability to even come to justice. And maybe we've even seen this because of the political world. And we've just seen all these atrocities go on. And we've seen nobody ever get thrown in prison for the things they do wrong. We've seen an awful lot of impeachments over the last 20 years, people threatening impeachment or doing impeachment or whatever. We've seen all this stuff going on, but it never really comes of anything. So if I'm going to impeach you, then I'm going to go and impeach you, and we're going to go back and forth and do this whole thing back and forth and just keep throwing these accusations and allegations. But it always just seems like manipulation to us, the regular people. So I think that with that environment going on, we get jaded to say, okay, those people can get away with basically murder. And in some cases, the allegation is murder. I think that the recent events are starting to show what I've alleged all along, is that no matter who you are, your high risk living can come back to bite you, and total collapse is closer than you think it is. I've said before, and one of the positions I've taken is, let's just say that you are a Conor McGregor that has unbelievable money and is rumored to be tied to one of the largest organized crime families in Ireland. And whether that's true or not, I have no idea, but there's a lot of speculation about it. He's no doubt one of the biggest draws in mixed martial arts fighting, and has been. He was one of my favorite fighters of all time until he started getting wacky. He was an inspirational person to me in my early recoveries. I've even professed in this show in terms of his approach to how he's going to get his life back. And in fact, I'm coming for everything that he said I couldn't have. A lot of that's that same attitude that came from Conor McGregor that says, I'm going to go forward. I'm going to go at him. So what changed? What changed? Well, his success happened, and that shouldn't change somebody that fundamentally or foundationally. But I think that the lust and the cravings for more and the choices he made really put him in a situation. So my argument is that, yeah, he might be the most powerful person and people might turn a blind eye to an awful lot. But even in that power, you're at risk because somebody of equal power is going to be struggling. There's a power balance at that level. There's not many people at that level, but you start getting to a certain level, there's always going to be the other side of your story that doesn't necessarily like your wealth and is probably competing for you on some level, and they are your adversary and could possibly have the means and reason to take you out in terms of what they share and what they know and how willing they are to weaponize that based on how your success is impacting theirs. So I really feel like there's no place that high risk living can't come to a screeching halt. I'm going to give a few examples on here, and I'm going to talk about choices and why is it that people are different. I'm going to go through a few people on here, and I'll share this with you now. So we're going to start with, it's basically going to be a pervert fest, I think, up to this point. Apologize. I think that's what we're going to be talking about. So Harvey Weinstein, movie producer. Actually, I think he's out of Buffalo, New York. He's now in prison for the rest of his life. He's sick. He was a perpetrator. He very successful producer, widely known as a producer, used his power and influence to take advantage of women. And he paid a price for it. And now he's in prison for the rest of his life. So his high risk living as a high end producer, it was all gone. Blink of an eye, gone, because they just didn't want to put up with it anymore. So these things that he was getting away with all along, at some point, somebody's going to say, I don't want to deal with this crap anymore. I don't care what you can do to me. You can only push a victim so far before they're like, I'm done with you and I'm going to go take this to the world. And so Harvey Weinstein went down because of that type of thing. We then move, I had others, sorry. We then move to Conor. For those that don't know Conor McGregor, there's Conor McGregor. Again, mixed martial arts fighter, champ. That means double champ. He's one of the first ones. I think the first one. And tremendous athlete. He has some holes in his game, but when he's dedicated, he's unstoppable. But he's been calamity after calamity after calamity, legal issue after legal issue, sexual allegation of assault after sexual assault allegation. I mean, he's had all these things just keep hitting him over and over again. And it all boils down to the choices he's making and the fact that he generally thinks he's invincible. Now, that invincibility attitude was the very thing that helped him rise to be fame and success in the octagon. I mean, he had wild success from really humble means. He was just such an inspiration to me. But then this money started, and then his substance use, I believe, is what took over. And this is just my opinion from a long way away from this man. I've never met him and never been around him. It just my observations, and I think anybody's observations would say that he's got a serious substance use issue. Whether he's addicted or not, I wouldn't know by not being close to him. But I can tell you at least from what we all see is when he goes on these runs, he does it to excess, to the point that in his Roadhouse interview, he was with Jake Gyllenhaal. He was literally sitting there twitching. And I don't know if you saw his shoulders are twitching and he just couldn't, he would just look awful. He clearly was substance affected there as well. Then we're going to go to the headlines today. So the point is that Conor is not invincible. In fact, his fighting career right now is in jeopardy because the longer he waits with his substance use, the longer it's going to be before he can test clean. And he is out of the octagon. He's losing his legacy. He's lost a bunch of his last fights with these gimmick fights he's been doing, jumping up in weight class and going over to boxing and all this craziness he's been doing. He really impacted his career because he had everything. So now he was doing all this weird stuff and he really impacted his legacy. And now he's down to the point his next fight could really determine how he's looked at in terms of his entire career, regardless of what he did early on and the draw he once was. But he's substance use again, he's losing his credibility. P. Diddy. All over the news right now. I don't think we've even scratched the surface of the scumbag this man is, and the stuff that was going on. Another one felt like he was the one that could teach people how to make money. He was the guy that was the money man in hip hop and music and all this crap he had going on behind the scenes because he felt he was insulated, and clearly he was not. His sexual addiction, which very evidently is a case, pushed him in his mind to take additional risks that would eventually get him caught. And I don't know if that's part of the deviance of that addiction or what it is, but it pushed him obviously to the point he got caught. So I share that with you. I share these people with you because these are people that at one point in their lives were considered incredibly powerful. And I think we would look at them and say, and they could get away with anything they wanted to. But over time is a wonderful thing. It reveals all things. And a lot of times it reveals horrible truths. And in all three of those lives, Conor has yet to have a horrible truth that ended his situation like Harvey Weinstein and P. Diddy did. But both of those guys were incredibly powerful. And it's come to a screeching halt for them to their point. Their lives are over in prison. Conor is damaging his reputation and his opportunities for fighting. He's still making millions in his other stuff based on some business ventures that he did. But either way, you have to wonder, what does the long-term trajectory for his life look like? What does his health look like? Where is his happiness? What happens to his family? What happens to his mind when he's no longer the center of attention anymore? When he walks in the room, it's like, hey, isn't that Conor McGregor? Rather than saying, that's Conor McGregor. There's a different attitude. If I saw Conor McGregor walk in the room right now, I'd be like, holy crap, that's Conor McGregor. I'd probably go with my hands up, because the way he starts swinging at people, I don't know if he's going to hit you. But that's the thing, is like with the substance use, he's just changed. He's not as embracing of his fans as he once was. So I say all that because it doesn't always mean that money and fame are the total collapse for you. But the point is that high risk living can cause you to fall completely apart quicker than you think. Now I'm going to talk about two other people. I'm going to talk about Mike Tyson and 50 Cent. Mike Tyson came from nothing. Mike Tyson also had multiple legal issues when he was coming up through. And he's turned his life around as contributing as a former boxer. Obviously, he's got a boxing match coming up, but I think that's more of a showcase type thing, even though it is a pro bout. He's changed as a human being, and he's more of a giving back type person. And what a difference. He's still a fighter, and he's still somebody I would never want to tangle with. But what a difference in his life from this person that had all these charges and everything else, and went to prison and everything else that went on in his life. And he turned it around, and now he's known. His legacy is for what he is today. Another one, 50 Cent. 50 Cent's notoriety came from rap and violence. I mean, he shot 6 times, I think it was. He was, he is Queen's violence. I mean, he was somebody not to reckon with, and probably still isn't. But he's getting prominence again with this whole thing with P. Diddy because of his prediction of all this stuff falling down. But again, his life has become one that is more contributing, business related. It didn't fall completely apart where it could have. He started out that way. Mike Tyson started out that way. It could have fallen completely apart, and it didn't. They course corrected their lives. So the point is that just because you have power and influence doesn't necessarily mean it's going to fall apart. And in fact, in Mike Tyson and 50 Cent's case, I would argue that they've done a good job with turning their situation around. Whereas the other individuals became so lofty, they felt they were untouchable. And now all of a sudden, when you do collapse, it's not just a little collapse. When you finally collapse, it comes crumbling down. And in the case of Weinstein and P. Diddy, he came crumbling down. I guess you could also say Epstein was another one that could be considered somebody that had everything and it went crumbling down with their sexual deviance. So I want to go back through what we just talked about here. So Conor was known to be an outstanding fighter and had tremendous followership. So what is he going to be known for when it's all said and done? Currently, he's going to be known as a wild man and an addict that once was a good fighter, when he could have been known as just the greatest fighter of all time and had all the accolades and riches he does now without all that negative stuff. If he just kept on a good course and was focused on what he was giving back to society, I think that he would have been able to be fine. Harvey Weinstein, great movie director or deviant? Which would he be known for his legacy? The fact he's spending the rest of his days in prison for being a deviant, he's not going to be known as a great movie guy. He's going to be known as a deviant. P. Diddy, is he a great movie producer, music, helping others, helping young people come up through? Or is he a sexual deviant that preyed on the young and enslaved women? He's going to be known for the latter definitively. His entire legacy is there because once that high risk living collapses, it takes everything down. And in these men, it's taken their reputation and their legacy away. Conor still has a chance to course correct it. But see, what I'm seeing, it seems like he's having a hard time pulling out of it. Mike Tyson was known as a troubled boxer and an excellent boxer, tremendous fighter, absolute savage, my greatest freaking boxer of all time. I love Mike Tyson. But he's going to be known for how he's given back at this point. He's going to be known as a great fighter and as this person that was a contributing adult into his retirement. Actually, some of the greatest quotes in terms of inspirational, thought-provoking quotes that I've heard in an awful long time have come from Mike Tyson on some of his shows he's doing. He has a zone and a way of expressing himself that's so authentic and so raw. It's almost like it's that kid from the street that has these new realizations, and he just expresses them in such a raw way that, for me, they connect. 50 Cent is going to be known for gangs and rap and shootings. Was he going to be known for his contributions back into the music world and what he's doing to bring up other artists and his stand? I think that 50 Cent is going to be known for his stand against these types of things. So I think the unseen thing that I would never have guessed when this whole P Diddy thing fell out is the illuminating of 50 Cent's treatment of women in a positive light. And it isn't, there's nobody coming out against him. He stayed away from trouble because he knew that was high risk and it isn't anything he desired. So he stayed away from those parties. He managed his career and he got himself back together and he focused on, stayed on the goal, but he never got himself in those other jams because he knew where the curbs were and he knew how to stay out of those high risk situations. So success is not failure. So as we're going through our lives, wild success is not failure. It really isn't. Your character and how you treat that success is what makes you a failure. I would, we always try to be positive and say, okay, the positive angle on things, but I'm telling you, if you're a sexual deviant, you're a freaking failure. You failed life and you deserve everything that you get. If you're a sexual predator, you deserve everything you get. And, especially when it comes to kids. And I feel like that's what, that's the spiritual side of things. I think that only can go so far. And then at some point, it's kind of like Sodom and Gomorrah for that story in the Bible that where it burned the whole city down because of all this deviance going on. Well, the spiritual component also wipes out people's lives from it as well. And so I think that when you look at the circumstances, just recognize that just because you're being successful doesn't mean that you have to have you're going to collapse. Just know that when you're having high risks around these things that are generally moral failings or addiction issues, know that collapse could come, and don't be surprised when it does, because when it does come from those loftier positions, it is going to absolutely crumble around you. Now, from our perspective, who are not multi-billionaire music moguls or boxers or fighters or movie people or whatever else, just everyday Joes like us, what does this mean? Well, we don't have as much to lose, but we have everything to lose. I don't want to lose my family. I don't want to lose, my career again. I don't want to lose this show or my opportunity to be free. I don't want to lose all those things. So high risk living for me puts all that stuff at risk. And so that is my multi-million dollars. That is my billion dollars is my life. And I think yours probably is too. Even if you don't feel value in your life right now, I'm telling you that is worth more than any dollar. And I know people say it and we get pretty like, whatever, but it really is true. If you think about your freedom and think about your life and what you will do to, reinvigorate it when you get the chance. I want to encourage you on a couple different things. There's the other side of this. So with the high risk living that you're living right now, stop. If you've got yourself in a jam with something, don't make the pile deeper. If you're feeling hopeless because some circumstance collapsed around you and your life doesn't seem as you'd want it to be, don't make it worse by some other action that also perpetuates the problem and adds to the pile. Just come to a screeching halt, recognize it sucks, and deal with whatever it is that you have to do to clean up, move through, around, over, under, whatever you have to do to move beyond your current situation. But one thing I'm certain of in the roads that I've traveled is that no matter what, if you keep making progress, hope is a lot closer than you think it is. I've said that in this show, probably, I don't know if it's thousands, but I've said it a ton. And our willingness to participate in our own progress creates opportunities for hope. Sometimes hope is just giving back to another person. I had somebody comment on the channel the other day. Actually, I'm going to look for that if I can find this real quick while we're doing this. This was encouraging to me. I'm going to give him a shout out right now if I can find it. Thomas Jackson NC a day ago just said, 2 days ago, just wanted to thank you for being there and helping me on my road to rehabilitation. That doesn't seem like much, but it's hope for me, because in our personal lives, the stuff that Sam and I are struggling with is exhausting. It's exhausting working with county programs and everything else and managing all their expectations to make sure that everything is good here. Boy, it's exhausting. It's another freaking full-time job. And man, it makes me absolutely crazy trying to keep up with everything. At the same time, worried and stressed and exhausted over the situation with Sam and wanting her to get better. It's a little rough, and it's hard to feel hope those days. So, but the point is, if I keep moving forward and putting these videos out when I don't necessarily feel like it, but I feel like there's a message that I should be producing, getting messages like that, I wouldn't have known that hope had I not produced that video or produced that meme for him to look at and say, this is encouraging to me. So, thank you to you, Thomas, but also thank you to the audience for tuning in. But to me, it definitely illustrates this point that hope's a lot closer than we think it is, but we just keep making progress. Guys, I hope this video made sense tonight. I kind of a little bit all over the place, but it does illustrate the points that I was trying to accomplish here, is that, if you look at the examples I've given, they're both high-powered. They're high-powered, two sets of high-powered groups of individuals. You got the Harvey Weinsteins, you got the Conor McGregors and the P. Diddys of the world and stuff like that. They've all got high-powered money, high-powered insulation, everything else. And in two of the three, they fell completely apart. Absolutely razed that building. They're done. Conor's vacillating on what that life might look like for him. The other side, you have 50 Cent and you have Mike Tyson, who could have been all that bad stuff. They could have. They got the money, the power. They come from the streets. They're both violent men. But instead, they found hope. They kept moving forward and found hope. So the hope was beyond this history. They weren't looking backwards because their future wasn't back there. Now, I'm not saying that they're perfect people, and there's probably plenty you could poke holes in what their life is. I don't know. But what I can say is there's two stark examples of two different ways to handle fame and fortune. And also, they're two blazed examples of what it's like to keep moving forward and the progress that you can have versus self-serving, high-risk living and how much it can destroy you. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. Check out the TikTok channel. Again, it's a little bit different content, but it's along the same lines. It's just the medium is a little bit different in terms of how I approach it. I hope you enjoy this. If you got any comments, please put them in here. Thanks for those that do comment and do support what we're trying to accomplish here. And please share the show. I want to get my subscribers up. So if you are watching this and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Share it with somebody. Get one other person to subscribe. That'd be great, because I need to start moving on these subscriptions a little bit more than I have. I haven't really pushed on it. I've been pretty casual about it, but I would like you guys to start participate in this community, and let's start growing it together. I would love that very much. Between now and the next time we talk, I'm going to do everything I possibly can do to stay out of trouble, and I hope you do too.